We told Roger to find this particular message that we gave him several years ago and have it on the screen, and would like each of you to read it now, because this is what you wanted to know. And this is why you were here today, even though you didn't know that's why you were showing up. But we are so glad that you did. And we've been waiting for you for a while. And that will make sense to you as well when you hear the rest of what we have to say to you. But please try to absorb that message as best you can. For those who will receive this recording later, we will include the link to this because it's important for you to understand it as well, because it will explain what is occurring in your life right now and what is occurring in your world right now. We know that it has been challenging for many of you, especially in the last year or more. And you think that it is due to what is occurring in the world with your pandemic, and now recently all of the weather events. They are caused for you to awaken to who you are. That's why you're here. And you decided to be here at this time because you wanted to experience this, because you knew that this experience would push you to the next level of your existence, to the next level of your personal evolution. We're going to start with something that we gave Roger some time ago. And we're saying this because we need you all to understand that your time has nothing to do with your evolutionary journey. In other words, your age, your particular time has nothing to do with your evolutionary journey. It's challenging, as we said the last time we were here, to speak about time because humans need linear time to make sense of things, meaning that you think one thing happens here, then the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing. And quantum physics will tell you that is not occurring, but it doesn't matter. You understand your life at this point. You understand this life. But we are saying to you, you have always existed. You are eternal beings. You're connected to so much more than you ever knew. Many years ago, we had Roger had his DNA done. We'll say this, when we say we had him, that means that we give him an intuitive message, just like you all receive, and then he follows it. Now, he didn't always do that, and we're saying that too, just like you didn't. You know, you heard that thing that you call your still small voice, or something that's whispering you, telling you this is where you're supposed to go, but you think, no, that may not be it. And then you start to doubt it. He did that forever. We're saying that because we need you to understand that Roger has devoted his entire life up to this point, we keep saying is 70 years, to bring him here for you so it would make the greatest impact on your life. So you will understand that what you are doing now is not a struggle. It's not a difficulty. It's just energy that you're using to move through some very old things that have been in your life, those of your ancestors and the world as a whole. All of you are connected in that way. We're going to use a little bit of science because humans come to the earth to use science. They develop science to use it so that you can access more of your human potential. One of the things that you came up with was DNA. You understood how to look at DNA, to take the blood, your blood, and analyze it in a way that you could find connections to those in other places, other relatives. But you found those connections to other countries, to other races. You've been every single race. You've been in every single culture. You've all existed. But in this life, you decided that you were going to do something a little different. And you chose a particular role, and that role is always being revealed to you, but sometimes you don't accept it because you doubt, which is why we told Roger in the very beginning that the purpose of this talk today was to help you move through some of your fear and doubt. We had him write a book on fear. He never knew why he was doing that, but he knew that he had to move through it. Otherwise, he wouldn't be here today. The timing, again, has nothing to do with what is occurring in your world. It's all done in an effort to cause you to understand your integrity, the integrity of your life experience. We told Roger decades ago that there was integrity to his life experience, and he had no clue as to what that meant. And what we are explaining now is that you each have these events that show up in your lives that are designed to uncover the magnificence that is within you. Sometimes they feel challenging. Sometimes they feel difficult. Well, yeah, because you had that before and things that you don't remember. What we mean is that when we had Roger look at the DNA, and then he started seeing all of the connections to countries, to places that he had never been, how is this possible? And then we pointed out to him that his DNA is not the same as even those in his family. And then we posed the question, which we will pose to each of you. When you look at all of these connections, and your blood connections, you'll say, okay, this is my parents, oh, they're my grandparents, my great-grandparents. Where do you stop it? Have you ever thought about that? Think about that. You see these connections. We gave Roger, he saw that he had all of these connections to Sweden. How is that possible? How could that be? He's here. The point of that is to get all of you to understand that you are connected to far more than you have ever known or experienced, but that is coming up now. It's being revealed. Many of you have recently felt this desire to connect more with others. Sometimes you didn't even understand why that was, because you came here to accomplish something and it required you to have a little more support, to have a little more comfort in doing that. This is why Roger showed up. It doesn't even matter when you met him or how you know him. It doesn't matter. He did not bring you here. You did that. You are always directing yourself to be in the right place at the right time so that you might hear something that would cause you to believe in yourself more. And that's what we're talking about today. We make a point of this because Roger, he struggled with this for so long. And we said, okay, because you've done that, you know that this is what you have to help others with. We will send him information and we will argue with him before he can write it on the paper. He will argue with us. You've done that. You will hear something in your brain and you say, no, that's not it. I can't do that. I'm not capable. I don't have it. He did that forever. Each of you have done that, but that's okay. We need you to understand that you needed to do that because you came into the world this time to evolve. You cannot evolve if you stay in the same place. It's not possible. And so you're doing that, but you're all doing it together. What we wanted you all to understand today is that this is much bigger what's going on now, which is why we have this urgency. Let's go back and explain that. Over the last several days, many of you, if you've read our messages, if you've read our messages on the website, Any Advice for Today, you will notice that for every day we kept saying, we're giving this to you in smaller doses, bits and pieces, because you can accept it more that way. Well, that's been Roger's entire life. We give him a little bit of information, and he says, oh, that makes sense. And then he'll kind of accept that. And then we'll give him something else. No, that's too much. Can't do that one. That has been the process. But because of that, we said, that's why you're here. You agreed to come here to experience all of these things, as we said in that message, that it's true for all of you. But you came here to experience all of these things so that you could move through them because you knew it would not only help your evolutionary journey, but that of all others who came before. There is a reason that all of you saw the different places in your world, in your countries where people are asking for freedom. It's because you do that every time you come into an incarnation. We'll explain. Years ago, we took Roger back to studying history, which he never did before in his life. He didn't really care about any of that. But we said, no, we want you to understand this because it's going to become important for you moving forward. He had no clue as to why we were doing that, but he sat there and watched these documentaries that took him back to places and civilizations and people like Aristotle and Plato and Tesla and all these folks, because he needed to understand how evolution occurs. It takes certain people deciding that there is more that they could achieve, because then they know that the world will do that. Each of you here is doing that. You didn't know it, but you are. The thing that you picked up to do in your life, sometimes that you didn't trust, that felt difficult or challenging, or that you had to learn a little bit more, you did that on purpose because you wanted to develop it. And then you wanted to work through your fear and doubt too. That's why you kept holding back. That's why you said, no, it's not me. Because you knew on this visceral, deep level that if you were to move through that, you would not only help your evolutionary journey, because you're going to feel much better about yourselves, but then you're going to help all of those who are looking for you, looking to you to be the example. Each one of you has that in your DNA, in your personal DNA. We're going to talk about that a lot more, because a while ago, we kept giving Roger this information about your personal DNA. And he kept saying, what does that mean? Then we told him, we keep giving him a little bit. Each one of you has something that's different. It's very different. And so the science allowed him to see this on a deep level, which he's always known and understood, but couldn't talk about. And we've said this before, you each have this to a certain degree. Roger has had it in spades. He could never speak about anything until he had some sort of proof, because his fear of being judged or rejected or being wrong was so great that it held him back. And you each have done that to a certain degree. And we would like for you to stop that. You will not. You will do a bit of it, because that's what we're doing today. You will do a little bit of it, but it's a progression. So the reason that we kept saying over and over in all of these messages, we're giving it to you in smaller doses so that you would understand that you have done that in your life. And we want you to not judge yourselves if you have not reached some imaginary place that you think you're supposed to be, which may have nothing to do with what is appropriate and right for your individual evolutionary journey. We had Roger hear something this morning. He was invited to a group on Clubhouse, you know, that app. He was invited to a group there, and there were all these wonderful women there, and they were speaking about things that they were kind of owning, but then afraid to mention. Now, they were speaking about mental health, mental awareness, which is one of the most important things that all of you could think of right now, because you think that sometimes you have it. You don't. You're here working through mental limitations, but you don't have mental illness. But anyway, so in that conversation, we jumped in. We say that because, again, Roger's an introvert, in case you didn't know. It's difficult for him to just jump in. He has to use us to do that. Otherwise, it doesn't happen. And that's okay. It's kept him humble to a certain degree, and it made this information a little easier to come through because of that. But during this conversation, one woman said, I don't want to say this. I don't want to talk about this, but as we're talking about these, no, I don't want to say that. And then she finally said, well, I was raped. And we said, why wouldn't you want to say that? Because see, the minute you say it, you take away a little bit of the sting from it. You take away a little bit of the pain and the guilt and the shame that you feel. Every time you say it, it becomes less. But then the other thing that happens is that you give someone else permission to say it. You get someone else permission to acknowledge that I've been hurt, and I'm here to heal that. And as I heal my hurt, I'm going to help others do the same thing. That is why you are all here. Now, let's go back, because what we want to explain is go back to what is happening, what is occurring now. You're moving through what we have called a big restructuring. You've heard many people in recent days speak of this time that your world is in and call it many different things. We've called it a great restructuring, because we also want to understand that the restructuring that is occurring is happening within you. You are the ones who came to be restructured. You have so much power that if you do that, your world changes. You've had that little idea your entire life that I'm here to somehow change the world. You just didn't know how that would happen. It will happen now when you start owning and accepting every aspect of yourselves. You didn't make any mistakes. You didn't do anything wrong. You didn't have any failures. You had things that you put in front of you to learn, to grow, to evolve. And you knew that if you did that, your life would start to move in a whole different way. And because of that, other people would see it, the world would start changing, and you would start to reverse what you're doing to your world right now, which is destroying it. We're saying this, another aspect of this, we made this urgent for Roger. We kept saying, keep talking about this day. And again, he didn't understand why. But we know that you will not do anything unless you build up a certain kind of momentum within yourselves and within your world. That's how things change. Where your world sits right now, your future is not guaranteed. Yes, the world may be here, but maybe in a different form. That's what will happen unless more people, individuals come together and start to care about themselves, which means that you will start to care about one another. Those two are the same. And we need more of you to come to understand that. You taking care of yourself and loving yourself and giving yourself everything you need, especially your belief, puts an energy into the world that others will choose, will use, will pick up on. Again, we're going to take you back to something else because we need you to understand this, and especially those here. We went through the list. We saw everyone. We saw all those on the registration list too. We picked up your energetic needs, and we're speaking to that as well. We had a group. Roger planned a group for yesterday. Again, he doesn't know when he does these things because we're directing it in a way that will cause him to evolve as he meant to, just as your guides are doing the same thing for you. So we had him create a chat yesterday, and we called it, how do I know if what I am doing in my life is right for me? That was the question. We wanted everyone to come in and ask those questions. When Roger got there, he looked at the folks there and he said, oh, all the right people are here. Of course. Of course. There are no accidents. None of you have ever been in an accidental place. You don't have accidental meetings, none of that. But what we did yesterday was said, we're tying this into what we're going to do today, because with everyone there, we said this was a trick question. Of course, you're doing what is right for you in your life. And we wanted to explain that to all of you, because sometimes you doubt that. You have doubted that. And Roger doubted it too. This is why it took him so long to move into allowing this. Let's give you some history because we need you to understand your journey. Because again, as we said, Roger dedicated his entire life, his entire 70 years to be able to be here today to give you this. Okay. In 1988, which is where there was a transition that began to happen. It happened well before that, but in his conscious awareness was when the first time he started allowing our conversations to become real, where he could hear us in a different way. It took some time, and he's still afraid of it. But then he started writing. It was good. He started writing. He trusted that. It was his automatic writing, as you call it. That's what he did. But then that became too strange. He didn't want you to see it because you might judge him. Even when people were saying they were receiving so much value, he still doubted. You have done that. You have done that. But it's again purposeful. I want you to understand that when you doubt yourself and then you move over it, there is a kind of awareness that comes to you that kicks you in the butt, that causes you to think of yourself in a whole new way. And that's what's going on right now in your world. So as we went through all of this with him at this particular thing, we also last night had him arbitrarily, we love using that because nothing is happening arbitrarily. You just think that. A lot of times you think that things are accidental coincidences. That's never happening either. So anyway, we arbitrarily had him turn on a television show, a documentary called Among Us. Never heard of it. Among Us. And it's as he started to watch it, he knew exactly why we wanted him to see it right then, why we directed that thing to happen. It's because it was all these folks speaking of these occurrences in their lives that are far beyond anything any of you could imagine. Some of them were taken up in spaceships. Some of them had encounters. Some of them had connections to angels and things that none of you would really fathom in certain aspects, but they had these experiences. You've had your experiences, but sometimes you don't own them because they seem a little strange and weird. So we wanted him to see that because we wanted you all to understand that what is happening now, what is occurring now in your life, and you felt it, is that you're moving into new awarenesses, and that is occurring because of everything that is going on in your world. And you're here now because you wanted to be a part of it. You wanted to be an integral part to help the planet move forward in love. Each one of you knows that, and you know not everyone here this time is doing that. We are saying this time because you have been the other people as well. If you do not come to understand that, your evolution will not move in the way that you had planned. You must come to understand that, because you were going to look, and we've been giving this information for quite a while. There is a division that's coming up within your world, within you, that you came here to heal. You did. You came here to help heal this. And some of you are doing this. We've seen you. We know you. We know what you're doing. And Roger goes in and gives you encouragement. Why do you think he's pushing you? Why do you think he keeps saying to you, keep going? I love what's happening. Because he knows that what you do is going to make a difference in the world. He could never have told you this before because he didn't believe it or know it himself, and not in the way that he understands it now. What we gave him, and we want you all to understand this, in other civilizations, some of them have gone away. You have no idea about what had existed before. We even had him see something the other day where they were talking about artifacts of fossils that are being discovered now that are 165 million years ago. None of you can conceive of that, except you've been here. You're eternal beings, you're spiritual beings that have been here for a while, but every time you come to perform a particular role. The roles are important, every single one. We need you to understand this, see, because you're going to look at those others and you're going to make them those others, and then nothing changes. Nothing changes. Your world does not evolve if you keep looking at everyone else and making them the others, because you have done that. You've been the other. What you came here now is to love them. Not to yell at them, not to do any of that. But if you start to love them, that's light. There is an energetic, and you will see this again in science. Your science has told you this. Your emotions will create different energies that go out into the atmosphere that will affect everything. And the highest energy of that is love. It's light. It illuminates everything, and each of you knows that you have that within you, which is why it's been so difficult for you when you see things going on in the world that you feel are unjust. You know that, you felt that. And you thought, if only I could do something. And you can. The thing that you can do is own who you are. The only reason that your world goes through conflicts is because people believe that they don't have what somebody else has. And some of you have done that. And you have so much. You have it's equal amount as everyone else. Each person has this. There are no exceptions. We said this so much. And again, we're doing it today because this has been a difficult one for Roger. We shared last night with his group. We had him pull out a writing that we gave him so long ago. It was actually in the very beginning of our communications in 1989, and some of you have this too. We said he has this fear that somehow, if he was going to allow his true, benevolent, wonderful self to come through, that he would use it in some evil way, some egoic way. And that has never been true. It's not even possible for him, but this is what he believed, because that kept him stuck. Just like you have believed certain things about yourselves that have kept you stuck. Again, we have to say this because we want no judgment here. You will come to understand. This is why Roger's speaking of it now. This is why he's allowing this to come through. He has gone through many things that some of you know about, some and some are just unmentionable. But he does know now the value of those. He could not be who he is this day if he had not had those experiences. But now he knows what we've been doing. We've pushed him to do more, which is why we're pushing you to do more, because your world is in this critical place right now where you are creating the world that you want to have. You're always doing that. We gave you something some time ago. we don't know if Roger shared it, but we'll talk about it now. We're talking about your destiny. And we told him, you may feel this thing inside you that you're destined to do this. That is probably true. But destiny is not guaranteed. You have to do something. You have to take some action. You have to take a little step to move in the direction of what you know is going to lead you into who you want to be. And sometimes, as we said, why we're here today, you've had fear and doubt. We are here to give you more information, more validation that your fear and doubt, while it was valuable, because when you get rid of it, you become empowered. That's what happens when you move through the illusion, because it's just an illusion. And you start to see that every experience that you have, every human experience you have, you will see that. So this time, what is happening in your world, it's really huge because it's gone in the wrong direction for so long. Not a wrong direction, but a direction that was not serving the evolution of all that is. When there's an imbalance, and we're going to talk about balance, there's an imbalance that has gone on in the world, and you've seen it. You see it in your governments, you've seen it in the wealth inequality that's existed, you've seen it in the race inequality, and you've seen it in how you have held women to a lower standard than everyone else. And women have a much more challenging role this time because you are moving through centuries, eons, millennia of being less than. It was written into a lot of your information. It was written into a lot of your religious texts and all of that. And so it's carried forth. Now, the reason that happens is because you have brains. You have human brains that keep programming things into your world. Again, last time we mentioned that we had Roger, he's been studying neuroscience for a while because we wanted him to understand this as well. You are each here now to utilize more of what was given to humans, which is science. And as you begin to understand your neuroscience, meaning how your brains work, you have better ability then to create the worlds that you want. That's what happens. Every civilization, you do this. You come in and you use your human abilities to use science to figure out how can human potential become greater, because as that happens, your world changes. Look at your world now. This is why we had Roger last time look at just photos from 100 years ago. You can see that. You can see how much has changed. How did that happen? Somebody said, oh, wait a minute, things could be better if I decide how to do that. You were given that. You've just doubted it. You were given that. It's in you. Every situation that you've had has been informing you of that, no matter what you judged, how you thought of it, or how you judged it. Your judgment always gets you in trouble. Your judgment always holds you back because you will look at things and you will call them good or bad. And it is not that. It's just, it's all this progression. And you need both of them to come together. There is a thing that happens within you where you have these divergent parts, these very different aspects of who you are. Sometimes you will accept yourself, sometimes you don't. That's the conflict that's going on in your world. And you each are powerful enough to change that. Everyone has this amazing, this connection to the power that creates all that is. And if you can understand this because you've seen even in your religions, every religion has talked about this, and every religion also has given you leaders who have told you, oh, you can do what we have. You have what we have, now we want you to use it. And then you said, no, that's not me. Or you will do what Roger did. This is a good one. Because we kept leading him back to references of Jesus, because that was the biggest one in this Christian world. And that was the biggest, because you thought that was the answer. And so we said, yes, keep looking. He goes, well, wait a minute, I can't look at that. What am I supposed to do with that? We said, he said that you have this. Why are you denying it? And you each have done that. Think about the times that you went to church. You sat there and you said, oh yeah, this sounds really great. They're telling me all these great things and I'm going to go back to my regular life and now it's going to be all gone and I'm back to being my old self. You've done that for a really long time. And more people in the world have done that. But now, because you have done that for so long, your world decided we need to shake things up. So you begin to change. So you begin to create the world that will be sustainable for not only you, but the others to come later. That's what is occurring. There's a lack of responsibility that many humans have had, which has caused what you are seeing now. A lack of responsibility. And that responsibility that you each have is to own who you are. See, because if you did that, all the other stuff would start to change. Everything would start to change. If you were willing to just say, wait a minute, maybe this thing that I am feeling inside me is real. Maybe I am supposed to do this. Yes, let me try. And we will tell you, we used Roger, and he is an example. He knows this, and he's accepted it, and he's completely fine with it. He will put things out. He will write things. It was hard in the beginning, but he's willing to do it now because he understands that what the stuff that he's gone through, he's supposed to talk about it so he can help you understand that it's forming your magnificence, whatever you're moving through. We know sometimes it's challenging and difficult. And he's had it. He's had it for so long. He had started with him when he was 12 years old and still doubted what it was till now. But you each have had that. Now we're saying this because the events, the experience that he's had has formed his life purpose. This is why we had him start saying that he is a life purpose coach, because he wants you each to understand that you do have this life purpose and he wants you to own it and believe it. And that's what we're doing now. He's changed so much, and that's the other thing that many of you have thought of. You think we're going to speak to a couple of different things, because we felt energetically there were few people who were judging themselves because they had changed so much in their lives. They have gone from one thing to the other and couldn't believe it, couldn't stay with that thing, and then kept changing. You were meant to do that. You were meant to do that because you were blocking yourself from where you were before. So you had to be shifted to this next place to start to understand what it is you were meant to do. We spoke of this yesterday. We had Roger speak of this in the group, where he began his vocal coaching and more people began knowing him. That's where his fame, that's where his popularity came from that. But he also knew that there was more. See, because he spent more than 30 years working with you. He spent more than 30 years studying human behavior through his vocal coaching. And that gave him the skill, the ability to see more so that he could help people in this arena. You each have done that. The work that you are doing in your individual field is making a huge difference if you decide to believe it. It is all based on your belief. We're saying this because your belief may not come very easily, and that's okay, because again, it's a process, which is why, again, going back to what we did over the last several weeks when we kept saying, we're giving this to you in smaller doses. There have been certain things that we have exposed to Roger that were shocking, and you can find all of them. We've written them. We said one, we had him write, this was some time ago, self-discovery can be frightening. It is. It shakes you out of who you thought you were. We led him back to something else, and we spoke about this before, because relating to the whole mental illness thing, because there's also a few here who have had challenges with mental illness, and you think that that's a problem. We exposed this to Roger just some time ago about his ADHD. And he knows that that's a hereditary genetic thing. And because he understands that each of you are here now to move through your ancestral limitations. This is part of it. But now you have more opportunity because you have more science to be able to see it and understand it. And that is what he did. And because of that, because he was willing to speak about it and talk about it, he's helped so many come to this awareness and shifted the trajectory of their lives, which each of you will do also when you start to understand and interpret your experiences and how they have formed you, how they have caused you to be the magnificent people that you are now. And you are that. You are that, and you always come to understand that. We say that because we've given Roger information. Some of you will not get this. And you will, if you've read our messages, you will know that we've made references in the past to past lives or lives before, whatever you want to call it. It's not really past, they're all existing right now, but that's a difficult concept. But when you think of these past lives, you all have done this and you make different ideas about it because you think about reincarnation, coming here, coming back and all that. Well, no, you're all existing right now. And when you understand that concept, and then you understand how you are connected to all of these people centuries ago, why not pull on the energies of those geniuses that were in your DNA because they're there? Why not pull that information? Because they're connected to you. You couldn't have these bloodstreams running through you. They're not energetically connected to all those who've come before. Energy is far more powerful than anything because energy is all there is. You're only using energy always to create something. And we're saying this now because we need you to start to love yourselves a lot more. We need you to start to trust yourselves a lot more. Because the more of you who do this, this is why we made this so anxious and urgent for Roger, more need to do this. We have him see what's happening in the world. And he says, oh, this is causing me to step up now because I see what's happening. I know that more of us need to come together in a way that's going to uplift this world. Even though we had that crazy idea when we were children, thought it was nuts, here it is now. Here we are sitting at the place where we're meant to perform this miraculous thing. But the wonderful thing is we're going to do it together. We had a wonderful example of that last night because in the group that we mentioned, they all sat there and exclaimed how they had found this courage and this strength within them and how they're transforming, but also because they were seeing the examples of others. They were feeling the camaraderie of those others. You each are here now to do this because what you have done as humans, you have left a great portion of the world out of this. And nothing evolves unless all evolve. You will not do it all at this time. You don't do it ever in each lifetime, but you will do more of it if you decide to own who you are. That is what is occurring now. So when we took Roger back to examining what had happened in all of these civilizations, which would be a great thing for all of you to do, it would give you so much comfort. It would give you so much comfort when you understand what is occurring. We've talked about this before because when the first pandemic first began, he had no idea why we directed him to start creating groups. He had no idea. He just thought, this is what I'm supposed to do. And now he saw it. He saw the result of that. And so what he has come to now, his mission is to get you to see that because he knows that's going to create this momentum that's going to change so much more. But again, in that group, the energy, synergy, we want you to think of that, comes together and you combust in such a way that it causes huge changes. You will not do it by fighting the others. We gave Roger, it's a little, okay, we're going to tell you again why this is a progression. It's gone on for years. We would lead him back to certain individuals of your history. And one time it was Martin Luther King Jr. And he thought, well, of course that makes sense. That's who that is. And he thought that was it. And then he started seeing all of this. And he thought that had to have been it because he was in the presence of Martin Luther King when he was a teenager. And he thought, this is my calling. But then he didn't continue to following that. But then recently, about 2 years ago, we said, oh, now look up Martin Luther. And then it was, oh, wow, that too. So it was beyond Martin Luther King, you see? It was Martin Luther. Then we took him back to more than that. And we took him back to others of your ancestral makeup to show him the connections to the energies of those who have come before that he is here now to utilize to move things forward. Each of you has that. This is why you're here. You wouldn't be here unless this was part of your path. It wouldn't happen. You wouldn't be here unless you came to the world this time to offer more love, to offer more help to other people. And as you do that, you will see things start to shift. You will not see it instantly. We know that. We have given you that before. We told Roger many times ago, a long time ago, he needed to use this. Practice patience and persistence. Never understood it, but now he's been understanding it. Because the patience was what was necessary. Because as he practiced use the patience, he would keep going, but he was understanding more and more of what was being revealed to him. And then we took him back to, just as we mentioned the last time, just before this, having the discovery of meeting all those who were early in his life that he did not understand. We took him back. We're going to go back a little bit further because there were a couple of things, because we need you each to understand this, because you've had this in your life. You just did not understand it before, and Roger's made a point of helping you to come to that awareness. He's even created it in the program. In the program, let's talk about that. We want to say this. We gave him a program called Empowerment Made Simple, which we thought was a pretty funny title because it's not simple, but it's doable. But it's doable, but you can understand it. So we gave him that, and we gave him the entire program. And then he looks at it and he does it and goes, wow, this is really effective. Maybe I should do it. Where'd that come from? That's what he did. You each have done that. It's okay. You were supposed to do that because the thing that you've created, it wouldn't be a valuable creation if you had known what it was before you created it. There would have been no value to it. You wanted to evolve. And so you accept information to come to you, and then you create something that's going to help others and you on your evolutionary journey again, which is why we had that paper on the screen. That's what you're doing. Each of you are doing. We explained it. And so we've explained this over and over again. But right now, what is happening is there's a huge shift, as we've said, that if you all decide that you are essential, that you are critical, that you are important, and you start to own more of yourself, not only will your lives change, because that's where we got to start first. We got to start with you. But not only will your lives change, but you're going to affect the rest of the world. And you're going to be fun. It's going to be fun for you. The other thing is, we'll tell you, we've made a point for a reason. When Roger does this, and many of you have seen this, and he judged himself for this. He even made a video, because we talk about this too, because he has many more hangups than we do. We don't have the hangups that Roger does. We just need you to understand that. But when he started receiving some of this and putting it out, he would then he would censor it, always, because of what others might think, even though he was hearing and getting very valid information. So it took a while to break through that. Each of you will do that. Each of you will start to break through those things, because it's not accidental. You would not have chosen to be alive at this time and be in this place, or to even show up here, if that were not true for you. And we can say that because we've told Roger this over and over again for many decades, and he said, no, this isn't true. He said, no, this is not true, just like you have. But now he knows that he did that because he could not be here as forceful as he is in giving you this information if he had not done that. He understands it. We took him back, and he has all these. We love using his crazy stories, because we've told him over and over again. We show him things later because the shock value gets him to accept it. Just like for you, when you have something that's like surprises you, then you pay attention to, oh wow, maybe that's true. What we did, we had him find a folder that was different than anything he'd ever created. It was a folder that, and he's written quite a bit. We've given him enough information that he could publish thousands of books at this point. But he found this one folder that said August of 2005. He had no idea why that folder was there. No idea. And we're telling you this for a reason, because we need you to understand your evolutionary journey. So we opened the folder, and he's looking at it, and it was very odd because he had dreams that he had had during that time in August of 2005. He typically doesn't have a lot of dreams, and he doesn't remember them. He doesn't write them down. He received more from us in this energetic way. However, this time he wrote them down, so many of them. And he still didn't know why he was doing it. He pulled out the folder. He read this one dream. And what it said, and we want to give this to you because you're all here doing a bit of this. You're here now because you need to hear this. He pulled out the folder, and in the dream, Roger saw himself sitting in a group of people that seemed to be spiritual leaders. They seemed to be spiritual leaders. And so they were asked, who would step up to do this? Roger jumped up and he ran to the front of the room and volunteered. And then the minute he got there, he went, oh, wait a minute. Why me? No, I don't want to do that. And then he tried to forget it. It's all written in the dream. He wrote it down. He said, maybe I can pretend this didn't happen. Maybe I can pretend I didn't hear this. Maybe I can pretend that that didn't come about. You have done that. You have done that. That's okay, though. You were supposed to do that. You were supposed to doubt. I know this is going to sound a little crazy, but you were supposed to doubt and fear, because then you evolve when you move through them. These are things that were given you to help you understand and move through your resistance to becoming magnificent. We love saying that, even though that doesn't sound, you probably won't accept that right now, but it's absolutely true. You're only here moving through resistance. And the way you do that is through contrast, conflict, whatever you want to do, differences. That's what you do. You have them within your life, and it's reflected out into the world. Again, why the world looks the way that it does now. However, this other weird concept that you will not get right now, but understand you have done this before. Your world has done this before, because we tried to make it clear that you have these energetic connections that go back beyond what you can possibly know. Eons was the word. That's what you have, because infinity is difficult to kind of accept, understand, but just say that it's been a really, really long time. And so what you are doing now, your lives at this point, every one of your lives has been filled with all of the things, the little stepping stones that you wanted to move through to each time uncover and own and love a little bit more of yourselves. And that's what you're doing. And then you find people like Roger who will help you, because he found many other people who helped him. He will tell you that's what happened. He never believed in it. He keeps talking about that because that is more helpful to you than thinking that somehow everybody else has all the knowledge. No, you have it, but sometimes you require a little motivation. You require a little inspiration to uncover it. And then when you do it collectively, you create big stuff like what's going on in your world. That's what's happening. You guys did this. You did it. We told many of you a while ago, as you come into the world, you do so to be involved in certain situations, and it's all of the situations. It's not just some people like to separate. We do not do that. We know that you are here to experience your political system, because that's you. Those are humans. You are the government. You are your government. And so when you see something in your government that you don't like, that means you're supposed to figure out a way that you can inject yourself in there to facilitate change. That's what you're doing now. Now, there was a principle that we brought up, and which is why we wanted Roger to mention Martin Luther King Jr. As many of you know, he was this, and he advocated for nonviolence. But then we also took him back to Gandhi. Same thing. And the examples that you were each given that you could utilize now to start to change the direction of your world, you've been missing a little bit. You see, because they understood that you're not going to change anything with hatred. You're never going to do it. And that's because you wanted to heal yourself. If you're hating them, you're hating yourself. That's what's happening. You're all one, and that's what you came to understand. Every time your world, your civilization changes, you understand more of you come together in oneness. Not all. It hasn't happened. You know that. That's why the civilizations have been what they were. But this time, it is a big one that each of you decided to be here now to help. And the way that you will help, and we've been saying this one for a while, and people didn't quite understand it, but the way that you will help is to own who you are, because you are that valuable. That is the only difficulty that you have had in your life, is not understanding how valuable you are. That is the difficulty that Roger had, but now that he understands it, he has this mission to help you understand it, and he's going to do that with us. We told him that, but now he's willing to hear it. We'll tell you one other thing. You have never been in the wrong place in your life. Even in your childhood, you've had situations where things were presented to you and you kind of questioned and thought, am I supposed to do that? Yes, you were. Yes, you were. Now, in 1972, Roger found himself in a meeting room. Didn't know why he was there. Doesn't even know to this day how that occurred, how he found himself there. But he was in a room, a seminar, a workshop. And there was this wonderful man up in the front conducting the workshop. And it's still to this day confusing to Roger because he has no memory of ever being there, how he got there, except he knows that this person was Leo Sunshine. He can remember that name to this day because it impressed him that much. Because this person stood there and started demonstrating the powers and abilities that each of you has. And he saw some of it. He picked up a little bit of it. He saw that this person could help individuals relieve their headaches, energetically remove headaches. Roger saw that and thought, that's fascinating. And he started doing that. He discovered that he had that ability, which you all do. Now, you all have those abilities, but you may not work in those modalities here this time. What you are given is what you're supposed to do. Now, we're not saying, so we're saying not all of you will do what Roger is doing now. Even though we would wish that more of you would do that, but if you would give yourself permission to even have conversations with yourself and try to receive information, that would be helpful. Not to say that you're going to go and do this. However, the thing that you are doing, that's what you were directed to do. And we just need you to believe in that a little bit more so that you keep going. Because as you keep going, so does your world, and everything begins to change. And we're saying this now because what's happening here is not something that Roger ever wanted to do. He never wanted to do it. He actually fought against this happening. We need you to understand that because it'll help you understand what you've been doing. He fought against it. In 2016, we're going to really call him out on this one, when he began creating a program. He said, this program is going to be personal development. Now, mind you, we've told him decades ago that he was here to explore spirituality as well. But no, he couldn't say that. No, he said, no, I'm going to do this program and it's going to be personal development. And he even made a point by telling his partner, I don't want this to be woo-hooey. You know how some of you have done that? Think about this weirdness. You don't want to go there. That's too strange. He did that. So we bypassed that. Didn't matter. He was still speaking with us. During that time, as he was creating things, he thought he was going to get away with creating something different. He did not. He created exactly what we have been giving him. He just did it in a way that it could be couched in personal development, because that is also the goal. Human potential is personal development. And that's what you're doing now. And you're doing it in your way, and you're doing it in a way that is right for you in this lifetime. And the other thing is, there's more. There's several people who believe that their timeline is a little off. That they should have, and there's a lot of that going on actually, that you should have done something by now, or achieved something by now, or whatever it might have been. That is an arbitrary thing that you have made up, which has nothing to do with your evolutionary journey, which we have on that screen. It has nothing to do with that. You are evolving, you are awakening in the right time that follows the integrity of your life experience, not anyone else's, yours. And when you understand that, you will start to release some of the guilt and judgment and regrets that you've placed on yourselves, because each of you have done that to a certain degree. And that's not useful, because you program yourself. Going back to the neuroscience, we want you to understand this. This is why we had him study this and what you each to do now, because your world will start to evolve if you understand how you each are programming one another to do certain things, to think in certain ways, to behave in certain ways, but you're doing that to yourselves. So if you understand how you've been doing it to yourselves first, then you can get control of that and allow that wonderful, benevolent person that's within you to come forth. And you're going to start to eliminate or relieve, you won't eliminate, but you'll relieve so much of your fear. We said we will not eliminate it, so please accept this, because you will continually move to places of fear. Because you have ingrained in you, that's longstanding, this is systemic, it's gone on forever, but you have ingrained within you this fear of the unknown, stepping outside of your comfort zone to go into this other place. And what we call that your ego. We want to throw this in because we have given Roger so much information that, and we've told him, please do not try to do this all at once, we'll do this more, but he gets so excited that he tries to put in more, but we'll give you this one. Your ego. Each of you have different definitions or ideas about what that is. You've made up different things. We gave Roger this one. We want you to understand it because it may help you. You may get it. Your ego is this false identity that you have created. It sits outside of you. It's some false self that you have created, and it controls you because the ego likes staying where it is, right here. Don't want to look out here. Let me stay right here. That's it. And so then when you start to feel something within you calling you to do something, or some desire or some urge or something, then your ego says, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't move. And then it'll cause you to experience fear. See how clever that is? And then you get to stay right where you are. That is the function of your ego. It keeps you right where you are, and you came here to evolve. So once you understand that when you are experiencing those moments of fear, anxiety, doubt, you wanted to, because you also want to move through them, because you won't feel comfortable until you do that. And do not judge yourself if it takes you some time, which is why we've said we've dedicated Roger's entire life to make you understand that, to allow you to come to understand that. Because this is a critical time when we need more of you to come together to own what you're supposed to be. So when you understand the neuroscience again, and which we gave Roger this wonderful process just the other day about consciously deciding when you notice what you're saying to yourselves to change, because you've been doing it for a long time. We need to alleviate help you to alleviate some of the guilt that you have been feeling. As we've explained this, and it's a little bit easier to see it through Roger's life, because he can see very clearly the systemic holding back that has existed within his timeline with his family, his ancestors. He can see that very clearly, and all of you know this because you've seen, when you've seen Black people, you know that exists, but it's all people. Everyone has done that. He just happens to be in this place, in this country, in this experience, and he's chosen this race to be born this time because he knew he could be more helpful in moving people forward if he were a Black man this time. You each have chosen that because you too knew that your particular conditions, situations, people around you, all of it, would cause you to awaken to who you are. We know, and we're saying this now, we're going to keep reiterating this, why we went through these extraordinary lengths to take Roger through all these hoops, basically, to get him to this place to be able to deliver this, because he truly wants more of you to understand your importance here in this world now. And you've all seen it. You've seen what's going on. And we talked about this will make a greater impact. There were several events. Now, most of you did not see this. We had Roger start looking at this stuff many, many years ago. But when the pandemic started, for instance, as we began to say earlier, we had him go back and study pandemics. We had them because there are many of them. Now, most people would go back and look at the one that most of your recent history would say was the 100 years, the one that happened 100 years ago. Millions of people died. That's what happened. And so when we told Roger, please study the rest of this because it will inform why you are all moving through this. And so then when you go back and you study, you will see that these occurrences have happened many times in your history. Many times, and you're just having another one now, and you chose to be in this physical realm now to experience this one. But there have been many of them. And then when you look at them, you get a better sense of comfort if you were to do that, because you will see that every time each one changed, you came out better. People started to say, oh, maybe we're going to get rid of putting these people down. Maybe we're going to get rid of slavery this time. Maybe we're going to accept women more. Oh, maybe we'll give more people rights. Maybe we'll free more people this time. Every single one has happened in that manner, and that is what is occurring now. And you're each are coming to understand that within your life. What we wanted you to really pay attention to is your individual journey again, which is why we have that writing on the screen. We want you to really get that that's what you each are doing. And your journey is sacred. It's valuable. And just because you have not figured it all out at this moment does not make it any less than that. It really doesn't, which is again why we say we want Roger to talk to you about it, because there's no better person who could say, oh, I've gone through all this horrible stuff, and now I'm here and I understand it all. Yeah, because it's time. And it's time for each of you to do the same thing, which is why we're coming through so strongly. Roger didn't quite know why we kept pushing him so much to do this. We did it for two reasons, and you will each understand this. We did it because we wanted him to start holding back. He knows he's doing that. He knows that when every person with whom he works, he knows he's doing that same thing. He's talking to himself when he's talking to you. He knows that. He's completely aware of it. You are doing the same thing. And some of you have had very vivid experiences of this in the work that you do. Working with somebody, people come up to you and ask you questions, and all of a sudden you're just putting out information that you say, where did that come from? How did I know that? Please pay attention to that. We have Roger put in his program because we know how you don't pay attention. You don't notice these things. He never did that. So we had him put in the program, your appreciation gratitude journal. We told him, everybody write down every time you discover something that you've done that's valuable or you're grateful for, write it down. Because you're so busy focusing on your problems that you don't see that. And so the way that your brain works, you keep creating the problems because you're not focusing on what you've done. You can't feel good about yourself because you don't remember that you've done anything. That's why we had him do that. He's never done it himself. We just have to say that in this way. But he knows that. He does it in different ways. But he does know we've given him this valuable information. He's done it in other ways, though. We'll give you an example, because he didn't even understand why he did this. Because when we took him back to finding that folder in 2005, he found another paper in there where he wrote down, which we give you each some of these exercises to do, because again, you are reprogramming your brains, you're reprogramming your limited thinking. And so that day, during that time, he made a list of everything he was afraid of. If we could show you that list, it's so long. It's so long. And he had completely forgotten that he had written the list. Completely forgotten. He didn't even remember he had created that list when he wrote the book, Overcoming Fear. He had no memory of that. But that's why he could do it, because he moved through that process of him writing down the things that he was afraid of and then looking at them and knowing that they didn't mean anything, allowed him to then have the courage to write the book. You each are doing something like that in your life. Every time, every step that you take in the direction of what you believe you're here to do, you're making progress and you're evolving. It's not possible for you to fail. It is not. You have to let go of that. The only way that you will fail is if you stop. See, because if you're doing something you're doubting or don't you fear and you keep going, it's going to either say, yes, this is it, and it's going to start to flourish because you have to give it time to do that, or you will find, well, wait a minute, this is not really fulfilling me, and I have innate feelings that tells me what I'm supposed to do here. You each do. You have built in within you innate feelings, which are to guide you to your best service here in this world. Each of you has that, but that may have been talked out of you for a lot of different reasons. Now, what we're saying is that Roger can very clearly see, because he could trace it through his family. He could see the limitations that existed in certain places within them, certain relatives. You've seen it. You know it. You just think that you just complain about your parents because they're out of touch. You said that when you were kids, when you were teenagers. Oh, your parents don't know anything. You said that. You knew it then, but you didn't take it to the next place to say, well, yes, I'm supposed to look at what they couldn't do, and then I'm supposed to take it further. That's why you each are here in the world, and you've done that over and over again. Every birth that you've had was to accomplish that. And again, you've done it in different ways, different forms, different places, but the place that you are now is exactly where you wanted to be, because it provided you with the best opportunity to become the evolved, empowered being that you came here to be. But we also want to say that it's a process, and we've told Roger this. Even though he's taken this long to see it, he knows that how valuable this is, because we had him lay out his program at least a year to start to give you the chance to change your thinking, to change your programming. You've programmed yourself into littleness, and you are much more magnificent than what you ever knew. You have access to the powers of the world. Everybody does. There's no difference. You will not always accept it, though. It doesn't matter. And again, you may not accept it all in this lifetime, but it's much more fun when you try. It is much more helpful if you try to do that. And we're saying that because at this point, again, we're going to keep talking about it, because this is a powerful time and you're seeing it. And we will say this: we are giving you things, and it seems like we're making predictions. We are not. We are taking things that are occurring right now, and we're analyzing them, and then we're giving you the probable results of what that action will be. And you each have the ability to do that, but you sometimes don't stop to consider that. And then what has happened in your world, collectively, more people have stopped doing that. You don't look at the consequences of your actions, and then you end up with results that you don't like. But then you don't realize that you have the power to change that. Your world is there now. It's looking at everything falling apart. It's looking at floods that you've never seen, ever. Fires that are burning down vast portions of your world. And then you think, well, we can't do anything about that. You each have also released some of that responsibility in your own lives. Again, which is why we have that piece of paper on our screen. Once you start accepting that responsibility, you also accept your power. You see, if you're looking at something in your life and you're not liking, you think that didn't turn out well, don't like the way it was, well, you created it. And if you understood, if you come to understand that you created it, now you can choose to create something different. And sometimes it's really challenging. And we know that because it was challenging for Roger. If we could tell you all the times that we have attempted to get him to move beyond his limited self, we could be here for another several hours. And we are saying that because we want you to understand that you might have done that, but it's okay. Because now you're going to stop doing it. You're going to, little by little, you'll stop doing it. There's no way that you're going to leave here today or hear this, whatever, and not forget these words and go back into your old ways. You can't, without an awareness of, no, I don't want to do this anymore. That's why we do these. Because you can't, it's not possible for you to hear our words and have them sink into your being and not for them to resonate for you with you later, and for you to remember them and to start to affect change in your life. And we're very willing to talk about this because Roger has accepted that his life has shown up in this way precisely so he could do this. time doesn't matter. Time on your evolutionary journey, your chronological time, your age, none of that matters. You're here to do magnificent things, or you would not have been born. Each one of you. What we want to say again about the conditions of your world. We know what's coming. We know what's coming about, again, because we can logically put together the forces that have been at work, that have been building for years and years and years, and we can see where that will go unless we start to shift things. And the shifting that is done is happening now. Your point of power is in the present. This is something that we had Roger see many, many years ago from the Seth material. He's had so many things that he could rely on to help him to understand this. But you each need to understand this now. Your point of power is in the present, meaning whatever happened before doesn't matter. Okay, it only matters in what you can gain from it in terms of your wisdom. But what is more important now is this moment and what you choose to do in each and every moment, because that's what's creating the future. It's creating the future that you want, and it's creating the world that you all want collectively. That is what is occurring. And that's why this feels so big right now. That's why it feels so massive, because it is. And you each chose to be here because you have this massive ability. You have this massive talent within you. You each do. And we want you to understand that. And the emotion that Roger is feeling right now is because he has this great awareness of this. And we want you to know that when you have that awareness, you will have such empathy, because you are all empaths. You're all empathetic people. You wouldn't be listening. You wouldn't be here. That is that. You know that you have that. And so when you understand that that which you have carried all of these years in your lives is so valuable, you will cry. You will understand, and you will be empowered, and you're going to move forward, and you're going to help shift the world as you always intended to do, each and every one of you. And you're going to do it together, which is also the part of this great restructuring. It's to bring more people on the world. It's not just in your country, it's the world. We need you to understand. That's why this is so huge. Some places, and we're talking about the United States now, they're doing great and they're starting to change things. As we said before, we said, which made no sense to Roger, we said the United States would lead the way, and they started to do that. We showed him certain things that were starting to happen where you're looking at other countries and they need help in different areas. You cannot, even with your pandemic, you cannot leave that to go away everywhere else and think you're going to be fine. That is not the purpose of this particular restructuring. It's to get more of you to think about others within your world. All of you are supposed to do that, because then things start to shift. And again, we know that this is not going to happen tomorrow, but you must understand that everything grows in time if you plant the seeds, which is what you each are here to do now. And you each took a massive responsibility, and we are so happy that you did so. Some of you have thought, oh, this has been too much. My life has been so challenging and difficult. You accepted that. You wanted that because you did that, because you knew that when you move through this stuff, you'll never have to do it again. Not in that way. You'll have a greater understanding. You'll never do it again once you move through this. There's certain things, and we're going to talk about this again, because again, we're referring to the person this morning who was raped. We want to use that as an example again, because you each have things that have happened to you that have occurred in your life that you're unwilling to talk about. You're unwilling to own and really kind of examine, because you had that because you were supposed to use it for good. No matter what it was, you meant to use it for good. First good is for you to understand that you had that experience so you could release something. It may not have even been in this lifetime. It may be something very old, doesn't matter, but you were supposed to move through that. And as you do, you help others. That's why that unwillingness of that person this morning to say, I was raped, was distressing to Roger, because he used to hold back things like that, just like you have, because you were embarrassed. There's nothing ever for you to be embarrassed about or shameful, nothing ever. You have experiences so that you can evolve, that's all. And if you were to take your judgments of good and bad off, you've had a much easier time. That's not always easy to do, because humans have to have ways of measuring things. One of the other things, and you know that we've come through in this way because we want to change the hierarchy of the world is changing, which is why we've always said in our messages, there's no hierarchy of souls. There aren't. And we need you to understand that one, because you place others above you. You think those others, for some reason, have had more or given more than what you are. And that is never true. It's just different. That's all. Yours is as important as theirs. We feel that we've covered what we wanted now. However, okay, we are going to open this up for questions because there is more that's coming, and it will be beneficial if we do another session at a later time after certain things have transpired in your world, because then you'll understand more and it'll be much more helpful. So we will do that. So let's do this. Let's open up for questions now. Anything that has come up for you that you would like addressed, or that may be a little confusing for you, whatever it might be. And Roger's going to stay in this trance because it's easier for him to energetically connect to our information for you. You can unmute yourself, I believe. I think that you have that ability, whatever it is, or you can type something, whatever it might be, anything. And please do not think that it's stupid.
I was a little bit confused when you were talking about the others. What do you mean by the others?
The other people you see that don't agree with who you are.
Okay, thank you.
And that's just anybody, just whatever it is. If it's their ideologies, if it's their beliefs, it's whatever it is. You each come with your own beliefs, ideas, and they're all valuable, because you can't change anything. You can't come to know who you are unless those others, people who disagree with you, existed. The people that you see in your life that you think are problems, that have been challenging for you, no, they were there because you wanted to see them so that it will cause you to know more of who you are. And that's what you're going to experience as you see these people that you do not agree with what they're doing. You're going to see that. But that is for you to use to come to know who you are, because we know that who you are is much more of light. You're loving, you're benevolent beings. And we need more of that. That's the only way the world shifts, is if we add that energy to what is occurring now. And we've also said, and we've told Roger this, some of you may have felt this, and we will go off on this tangent a little bit. You may have felt that you're being punished for something in this life that you don't have any memory of. That may very well be true, but it's not punishment. It is not punishment. You may have felt this has been so difficult, so there's stuff that you're going on. No, you agreed to move through some really challenging things because you knew it was going to be monumental in your life, and that was going to affect the rest of the world. That's what's going on. So, and once you start to understand that, as we said, we've given Roger as the example because he's gone through some things, as many of you have, that were challenging, painful, and where he's lost absolutely everything. But he's known now that that's not what is essential, a part of him or you. There's more for each of you to do. Anything else? Is anyone else? Anything come up for someone else? Don't be shy. You can ask away, or write or type. If it's something, it's even if it feels ridiculous to you, please, because that's what happens. You think you hold yourself back and you think, I don't want to be embarrassed. I don't want to ask this. I don't want to even bring up this question, but you're meant to. Your whole life is about questions. If you don't ask the questions, you don't receive the answers.
Roger, could you say a little bit more about the reincarnation piece? I mean, there have been times that I've been doing things and it felt like, oh, wow, this deja vu, I've done this before. Where did I do this? Is this the same thing you're talking about? Can you just say a little bit more about that?
Okay. Yeah, it's difficult in human terms for you guys to get this, because again, when I talk about linear time, you will think of a life existing here and then here and then here, but that's not happening. It's happening all at once. And so even in incarnation, we don't like you using that word because you think in those linear ways, but what is existing within you now. And so the deja vu that you would have experienced was you shifting into another timeline that you have experienced. And that experience of the deja vu was meant to get you to sort of believe that maybe you have been here before, that maybe you have experienced things. We've sent Roger into many of those things where he actually questioned, was I here? Did this really happen? Because he was experiencing exactly the same thing. He stopped asking about it though, but he was experiencing exactly the same thing. And the purpose of that was to get you to start to understand and accept that you have had this eternal life and you're seeing parts of it now. You're just living and moving through parts of it now in a different linear time zone in this, because again, for progression to happen for humans, you need these linear timelines, but everything that you are experiencing now, you have access to. We gave Roger something, we introduced him to some information, he started to incorporate some of this, it was difficult, but when you understand that you have existed always, that you're eternal beings, that means that these energetic connections that we've been telling you about, that DNA, all those things that are going out into the world, you're still connected to them all. So you could pull from Einstein's genius if you choose to believe that you are connected. You could do that. Infinite intelligence is that. It's always there, it's accessible, and everyone has access to it. Do we have more?
Roger, I had a very strange dream the other night, and I was wondering if this dream was to do with my own rebirthing or of me starting something new, or are they connected? Are those two things separate, or are they connected?
They're probably connected because it's all you. So you know, this is perfect. Please examine, let's interpret, because you have an interpretation of this dream. You have an interpretation of those events too, that you're not putting together, or you maybe don't want to put them together, but let's talk about it. What do you think it meant?
I'm changing like my career path and my business path, but also by doing that, I'm also doing more personal work.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something I've wanted to do for a long time, but wasn't really ready.
Mm-hmm.
And although now I don't feel like I'm completely ready, it's like I've got to do it
You're
now,
ready.
otherwise I never will.
You're ready. You're ready.
Yeah, okay.
You're ready. You're ready. And you wouldn't have had those, that's why I wanted to go, this is perfect. That dream was like, this is not a dream. This is your reality, that you were seeing your probable reality if you were willing to step into it. That's what you were seeing. They're not disconnected.
Okay.
And you are feeling that, many of you are feeling this. You exist in the world to participate in the energies that are happening in the world. Many people have felt this shift to all of a sudden do something. And you thought it was only because of the pandemic. That was a great part of it because it gave you more time to be with yourselves, which sometimes you don't want to do. But during that period, you collectively started feeling this urge, this shift to move into something new. And those of you who are here now would have felt that urge, just like you did, to move into more self-care. Because when you do that, meaning taking care of yourself, loving yourself, giving yourself more trust and belief, then others experience that. You become the example and the world continues to evolve. Yes, we have to please trust where you're going. What's happening is, because of the way this is occurring, it took you into that unknown thing, as we said, and that causes a little bit of fear and anxiety, and you start to doubt yourself. That's okay. But you would not have had that dream, those feelings, if you were not meant to follow it.
Thank you.
Do we have more? The last thing we want to say, you have two choices as you only have two choices that you will make as you move forward. And we need to talk about this because you're going to see a lot of opportunities to make these choices. Okay. You're going to see it in your own life and you're going to see it in the world. The only choices that you have is to choose between love or fear. If you're choosing fear, you're not choosing love. And that is for each of you, because that is what we want to leave you with, because that is pertinent in your life, in each of you, in your life. Because see, when you're choosing fear, you're not loving yourself because you're thinking that you don't have the ability, talent to carry forth what you have, and you do. So whenever you feel the fear, know that you are choosing not to love yourself. Then you're going to start to shift that and start to love yourself, believe in yourself, things move forward. You each will do that during this time.
How can we tell the difference between the love and the fear?
You know it internally. You have innate feelings that always tell you which is which. You always know. It may take you some time to figure it out, but you always know when you become honest with it. Now, sometimes you will look at the fear. We're going to go back. We gave Roger something a really, really long time ago, and this will help with that. You operate sometimes with what we call artificial fear. Artificial fear. It serves no purpose. You have that. It serves no purpose. Fear was given to humans as a way to protect yourselves, to survival. You've heard that. So you have fear so that you will make a move to protect your life. That's the only time when fear is appropriate. And it was the only reason it was created, for you to use it in that way, to protect yourselves from some harm coming to you or other people. When you have that fear, it's like, okay, don't want to hurt myself, don't want to hurt other people. Everything else is artificial. It's just you doubting yourself because the fear is there. So you doubt yourself, so you hold back, and you think the fear is holding you back. But no, it's you doubting yourself that is holding you back. And then when you start to believe in yourself and take the step moving forward, then the fear starts to subside. And this is going back to the woman who was raped. When we got her to say that word, she let it out. And then that fear of being judged was kind of gone now. And then she helped so many other people just by that one act. You each will do that, but the simplest little acts that you might take will ripple into the rest of the world. And that's how everything changes. You look at every major leader in your world, in your past, in your history, they were one person sometimes, but they had the belief that they were going to do something, not knowing how it was going to turn out, but they had the belief, the feeling, it was an innate thing, that they knew that there was something they were meant to do. And maybe if they did that, it would make a difference. You each are here now with that. You have that within you.
Yes, clarity, go ahead.
I wanted to add to the question answer from Terry. As we meditate and sit, we start to watch our minds better, and we get a visceral sensation when we're going into fear. We start to feel uneasy. We get anxious. We start having muscular discomfort that won't let us sit and just watch our minds. So what Roger, in the course of all these things he has learned about himself, and I followed along, his little meditation course was valuable to me. Okay, Roger? So I'm reminding you all the things that you've done on a lark to just get your stuff there. People that were following along with your beta projects, we're getting more than just watching you build and tear things down. We were getting all the wisdom that you had siphoned out of the universe and given to yourself and shared. Okay. But back to the love versus fear, we have to tune into ourselves and understand that there's a very distinct difference between being in love and being in fear. Fear means you can't trust the universe.
Right. You have other ways of knowing when you've gotten off track. And I'm so glad. The physical things. Let's talk about the physical things. Many of you have had physical ailments throughout your lives. You've had different things that have occurred in your physical bodies. You are connected energetically, spiritually to every aspect of you, including your spiritual bodies. Everything that goes on in your body is designed to give you guideposts, so to speak, pointing you in the right direction. Many times your physical conditions, because Roger's had several of them, and he knows now when he can talk to you that his physical resistance was causing the physical difficulties to manifest in his life. But he understands now he had to do that because, again, it is informing what he is doing now. So there's no regret there. You come to understand. You come to understand what we wrote this morning. We didn't even speak of this, but this was the point of what we were doing today. But we said today, you will fear less and understand more. Because when you understand more, it takes away a little bit of that fear. And that's what we're offering here today.
Thank you.
Was there more?
There are no more in the chat.
Then we are complete. Okay. Oh, hello. That was fun. And I was, yeah, okay. Okay, I'm back. All right, I'm here. This was truly wonderful. Thank you so much for this. And you're going to see that this is starting a great trajectory of things to move forward in your lives and in lives of so many others. That's why you're here. And we understand it better when more of us are together. And that's what we'll need more to do moving forward. And so I'm just thrilled. I'm so thrilled because Carrie's doing that. I just see her every day. It just inspires me so much when I see what Carrie's doing, and I just have to always comment. So it's just yeah. And both of you, I mean, all of you are doing so much. That's why I get excited, because I can see this stuff, and I can never see stuff in myself, but it's good. Anything else, you guys, before we get how long do we go?
We are currently at 1 hour and 40 minutes.
Oh my Oh wow, I was really gone, I guess. Yeah.
I took a nap in the middle.
Well, you'll hear it later because I'm sending the replay, so you'll hear the parts where you slept. Wow, that was it was truly wonderful. And this is it was great for me because it's explaining what's been going on and what I know that we're all here to do now, and this is really powerful. So thank you. All right, you guys, thank you so much. I love you all so much. This is just really quite wonderful. And again, I will send the replay to everyone too, so because I know people on the list want to have it.
You know, Roger, you didn't used to tell us you loved us.
Yeah, yeah, because it was when you start to understand the importance of people. Yeah, you got to say it all the time now when you start to understand
But
it.
we knew it.
Yeah,
we knew it. We were just waiting for you, guy.
Well, thank you.
No, it's wonderful to watch you too. You know, yeah. I mean, you're not isolated from the process.
Right. Oh, absolutely. I am. Yes. Yeah, my process is something. So you'll all understand it. And there's nothing that gives me greater joy than to help others understand their process, because it was so difficult for me. That's what drives me. That's what keeps me going. So, okay. Thank you all so much.
I just wanted to say watching you has given me more courage to do what I'm doing. So Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Oh, great. Thank you. And that's what you're doing too. But you're doing, I know, I see what you're doing with the people that you're working with. And that's how we work. That's how this all happens. Because Carrie's doing some great work with so many people, women, and that will trickle out to everywhere. All of us are doing that in our own individual ways. And it's going to make a huge difference. So thank you. Right. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Have a wonderful rest of your Sunday. And I'll see you soon.
Thank you. Keep it up.
Thank you.